let's start with very current issue here in issues in market discipline. Talk to us, what is the state of the market on this?
The market discipline has improved significantly. When we look at what the fractions in the market has been in the last 5 years or 7 years, clearly shows there's a huge decline in terms of fractions that have been committed. We also at SEC have also upscaled our both investigation and enforcement mechanism. We have said it right from the beginning that anybody that crosses the red line, we will tell that person to get out of that red line, and whoever refuses to do that, would have no option than to take the necessary enforcement actions. And we showed a very good example last year, and even this year, a few companies have been suspended from the market. So I think everybody has taken the cue, and that discipline has been instilled in the market.
There are a number of issues, and you will agree with me, that are yet to be resolved. Could you talk specifically to some of the investigations, perhaps enforcement, that you've been working on that you're carrying into the new year 2017?
Well, enforcement is an ongoing thing. Sometimes we get opportunity to these operators, to have a discussion with them. What we're trying to do is to also restructure our enforcement mechanism such that there will be a lot of engagement and it's going to be more efficient. So we're trying to restructure our Administrative Proceedings Committee, the APC, which basically is it's like an opportunity to give the investing public and particularly the operators, opportunity for fair hearing. Now, because it takes a long time, we have now tried to strengthen our enforcement department, whereby we've given them opportunity to now invite those operators and to explain why enforcement actions, cannot be taken against them. We have also realized that we can actually take a lot of decisions without necessarily bringing such operators to the APC Administrative Proceeding Committee, and we've done quite well. Currently, we are investigating 1 or 2 firms. One is already in court, so I'm not in a good position to speak on it. One is currently being investigated, and we are going to invite them for discussions. 2 or 3 firms have currently been suspended, but based on that, they have made an appeal, and we've told them that the only thing we can listen from them is when they're able to address some of the complaints from the investors. Our key focus is investor protections. Once you are able to address the complaints of the investors and we see that you are fit and proper to operate in the market, we're ready to lift the suspension and allow that firm to continue to actually operate.
As far as investigations and enforcements are concerned, are you satisfied with what you've done so far since you assumed office as the head of the SEC?
I wouldn't say I'm fully satisfied, largely because we have limitations with respect to the criminal offenses, and most of the offenses in the capital market have a lot of criminal elements. But based on the way our law is structured, we can only we can only do the civil investigations. We cannot do the criminal investigations, and that's why recently I paid a courtesy call on the chairman of the Economic Financial Crime Commission, EFCC, largely to now collaborate with them and also to come up with the MOU that we had with them, such that whenever we refer case to EFCC, they should be able to handle those cases. And we also agreed to, and we have actually done that, seconded 3 of our very good staff, both lawyers and accountants, to also help them in understanding the intricacies of the capital market. Because when you are investigating financial infractions, there's a difference between infractions committed in the banking industry and offenses committed in the capital market. So we seconded 3 of our staff to help them to do that. Our major challenge is we are only limited to civil offenses. We don't have a power to prosecute in terms of the criminal offenses.
There are a few cases that are still outstanding. For example, you got a court judgment in favor of the SEC as far as the BGL group was concerned. What's the update on that particular investigation?
Well, the court case we go with respect to the BGL enabled us to sit as APC, and we've sat, we passed our judgment, and we have passed it to the necessary authority for approval. On the other case that we also sat as APC, we had also passed our judgment. You recall that we revoked the license of that company, and we also suspended those key individuals for the next 20 years from operating in the capital market. And that judgment, that decision has also been approved. So the status now is whoever is not happy with the judgment can now go and appeal either to Investment and Securities Tribunal or the Federal High Court. But we always encourage people to go to Investment and Securities Tribunal, which is the court that largely has the mandate, even though the High Court also could do that. But we believe that the whole essence of having the IST is to ensure that there's a speedy dispensation of justice, particularly on issues regarding to the capital market. So that's the status with respect to that.
In terms of enforcement, there's perhaps a rumor that the SEC is moving its enforcement unit to Lagos. Why would you do this?
Well, we're not moving the enforcement division or department to Lagos, but we are looking at either moving the inspectorate divisions or to transfer the large part of the staff of inspectorate division to Lagos. Largely is to ensure that we inspect these capital market operators on a regular basis. Like I said, from what we have seen in the last 2 years, there's a need for proper supervisions, and we have also come up with a very robust risk-based supervision manual, which is based on the ISCO principles. The template is very robust and is very comprehensive. And so the moment our staff moves to Lagos, there's going to be periodic visitation to the CMOs. I anticipate that almost every week, certain visitation would have to be carried to actually ensure that what they submit to us, it's in line with what is in their own books. Also, we've come up with a manual in terms of the systematically important firms. Like I said, what we have seen in the last 2-3 years is that some of the big guys also have some answers to, some questions to also answer. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come up with some firms that we think are quite big and they have different multiple functions. And there's going to be a lot of attention that will be paid. So the inspectorate division that will be based in Lagos would also be visiting them. The whole thrust behind it is 80 to 90% of capital market operators are based in Lagos. So what is that division doing in Abuja? For cost purposes, it's cheaper for us. For efficiency, it's also cheaper for us. So that's why we're either moving the divisions or we are moving greater part of the staff to Lagos. We're also doing the same thing with respect to the registration. We also have statutory responsibility of registering every capital market operator in Nigeria. Now, like I said, 90% of these operators are in Lagos. Why should that division remain in Abuja? So either we are going to move the divisions to Lagos again, or greater part of the staff will also be there, so that we ensure that at any given time we are on the same page with the operators. Because what we have seen in the last 20-30 years is the record that the operators have is actually different from our own records. So again, this will enable us to make sure that every registered operator in the market has current data with us. It also eases the pressure on the part of the operator from flying from Lagos to come to Abuja. But we still keep some staff within those divisions to cater for those capital market operators that are based in Abuja and the other northern part of the country. So strategically, that's what we're doing. The main focus, like I said, is to ensure that there is regular inspection of capital market operators to ensure that anybody operating in this market is fit and proper.
Do you think some firms in the Nigerian market are perhaps not too big to fail, but are systemically important based on the stress test you've done, investigations and oversight you've done for the industry?
Yes, again, we've seen that some firms that we think that they are too big to fail have actually failed. And we have also realized that some firms are too big and they have different multiple functions. So that's why we came up with the with the inspection manual in terms of systemically important firms. We identify them, we look at the kind of functions they do. So when we're inspecting them, we go with experts that can look at their books as fund managers, look at their books as broker dealers, we look at their books as trustees or as issuing houses. Because if we don't do that, we won't be able to ascertain that the size and the capacity and the risk they take is commensurate to the level of the capital that they have.
You've been doing everything. You took office about the time when the economy was heading into recession, so you're not the man to be envied. As it were, heading the SEC, you weren't there when the market was booming. You came in at the time when the market was at the bottom. 2015, 2016, the market was negative as far as the stock market was concerned. So how have you been able managing the resources of the SEC vis-a-vis the broader economy in which you operate?
Very true, but it's been very tough, and I used to tell people that I wish I had come in 2010, not 2015. But we've been managing. Sadly, the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria is the only institutions in the world that relies totally on what the market it's able to fund it. So in other jurisdictions, the Securities Commission will prepare its budget. Whatever its budget, it will not be levied, on the market. So for instance, if my budget is 5 billion, the market will now fund me with 5 billion. But it's only in Nigeria that as of today, if our budget is 5 billion and the market can only give us 2 billion, that's our own business. We now have to find a way to manage that. So that's a very difficult situation. That's a very precarious situation. And it was reflected in our 2016 account. Our income dropped by 43%. But when we came on board in January, we anticipated that the market, wasn't going to be as robust as, as it used to be. So we came up with a very strategic and cost-cutting measures. Happily enough, as our income dropped by 43% in 2016, our expenditure also dropped by 48%. So that's what has been keeping us afloat. And we are praying, making all efforts to see that the market has come up so that our income would also go up, and the impact it will have on the economy would also be high.
But within these very limited resources, that time was when you decided to launch the Nigerian Capital Market Roadmap. That very ambitious program you are launching at the time when the market was in the red, as it were. So how have you been managing this roadmap to make sure that it succeeds?
Well, that's true. When I came on board in January 2015, you remember I said that my plan is going to be largely to implement the master plan. Sometimes when I look back, I used to wonder how we've been able to implement it, given the limited resources. But I think God is on our side, and the entire market is also on our side. For the 2015, all the initiatives we came up with, the direct cash settlement, the e-dividend, the dematerialization, the recapitalization, the Nation Investor Protection Fund, the scorecard, have all been achieved. As of today, for the first time in the history of the Nigerian capital market, 100% of shares have been dematerialized. As of June last year, only 40% of those shares have been dematerialized. But as of today, we have achieved 100%. On the e-dividend, we've also done quite well. At the last count, almost 1.4 million Nigerians, have actually mandated their account. The BVN has been attached, which is almost like 50% of the number of shareholders that we have in Nigeria. We expect in the next 3-4 months we'll be able to achieve that. We also introduced the direct cash settlement. Initially, we say it's going to be optional. But from 1 or 2 problems that we have seen, we have now set up a committee to look at ways and means that it will be made mandatory. And I think the entire market believes that it should be made mandatory. So we've done extremely well. In 2016, you remember we inaugurated the Capital Market Implementation Council, CAMIC, under the leadership of Mr. Mounir. Certainly in this market, one can't think about any other better person to drive that initiative than Mr. Mounir. Now, for me, the major game changer is the quality and the composition of that CAMIC. It's the first time in the history of the Nigerian capital market that we have an advocacy group made up of the best brains you can ever think about in this market, and all the regulators, in the financial system being members of CAMIC. In addition to that, at the last CAMIC meeting, the Honorable Minister of Finance also agreed to be a member of CAMIC. For me, that's a plus, because for her to volunteer to say she wants to be in CAMIC sees that the quality of the people there, the vision of that committee, the strategic focus of that committee, is in line with her own vision as well.
The first part of a 2-part interview with the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Mounir Gwazo. You don't want to miss it. The conclusion comes on a business morning tomorrow at the same time. So why don't you keep a date with us, and of course send your thoughts on that particular interview to us, and we'll be glad to get them.